Hello and welcome to Picture Astrology. In this video, I will share with you some of the very useful methods, tricks and techniques to learn astrology. And the primary reason to make this video is that many of you have asked me questions in comments, in emails related to recommendations of books, of astrology software, how to learn to read your chart and so on. So in this video, I will definitely share, some methods, techniques which we can adopt to help in learning the astrology. I will give some recommendations of books as many of you have asked. And I'll also share some daily routine things which you should try to cultivate in your life to sharpen the perception which is required to fully and quickly grasp the concepts of astrology. So the very first thing is obviously read a lot. Because remember, astrology is a big ocean and it is almost impossible for anyone to fully understand this concept in one lifetime. But that doesn't mean that there is no hope, for new learners. Because even though it is a big ocean, there are some basic concepts or basic constructs which make this ocean of astrology. It's almost like, there are only 5 elements, the fire, the earth, the air, the water and space. But these 5 elements make this entire universe. This infinite universe is just made up of basically 5 basic elements. And similarly, in the ocean of astrology, you must concentrate on basics. And these basics in astrology are typically 12 signs, 12 bhavas or houses, and 9 planets if you are talking about Vedic astrology. And then at next level you can obviously add 27 nakshatras. And basically, the basic concepts of these things, these fundamental entities can help you grasp a lot of secrets of this ocean. And just reading is not enough. It is not a novel. You will have to do what is known in Hindi as Chintan and Manan. Basically think over those concepts which you have just learned. Ruminate over them. Think about a subject and go to bed. Utilize your subconscious mind by feeding a particular topic of astrology just before you go to sleep. And then similarly, try to relate those topics with your day-to-day life. Say if you are reading about a particular ascendant, then see in your life any person you meet, can you guess his ascendant? Now obviously this will not happen immediately, but after a certain period of time, when you keep on doing Chintan and Manan, thinking over about those basics, and then start doing these activities in your day-to-day life. Next thing you should do is collect horoscopes of people you know very intimately. That will be, your family members, your good friends, your friends' parents, their sisters, brothers, cousins, their family members, your office colleagues, your own cousins, your cousins' spouses. Basically come up with a very sizable number of horoscopes about or of people whom you know very well and with whom you can even talk if needed to clarify the occurrence of one event or not. And then, when I say collect horoscopes, many people ask me, how many horoscopes? Now, the answer could be as many as you can, but at least 1,000 to 2,000 horoscopes should be in your personal collection. That should be of people whom you know. And obviously they can't be, people who are intimately friends with you. But as I gave the example of your family, extended family, friends, family, and so on, and then you can actually come to a stage where, say, somebody talks about Jupiter in first house in the sign of Aries. Immediately, a bulb should light up in your head and a particular horoscope with that placement should come up in your mind. Now, obviously, this is something which is going to take time, but at least in the beginning, you should try to come to a stage where, say, at least 12 ascendant. When somebody talks about for Aries ascendant, so and so should happen, then you should at least in your mind immediately 2-3 horoscopes with Aries ascendant should come up. and that can really help you correlate what you have learned or theories with actual horoscopes, and that can help you in learning in a very big way. Now, another very important thing you should do is when you have one horoscope, you remember it is not only going to tell your life, but it will also tell you story of many other people. From your horoscope, you should see your father's life. You should try to see your mother's life. You should try to see your siblings, your sisters and brothers' life. You should try to see your sister-in-law's, brother-in-law's life, your grandparents' life, your spouse's life, and so on. So basically, just from one horoscope, you should be able to see about 10 lives. Now that can be a very, very big learning experience. And this is one technique which can really add in your astrological progress. And in fact, this is also one of the techniques which has been recommended by many great astrologers in past. And another very important thing which is mostly suggested by all traditional Vedic astrologers since ages is that you should do some kind of a sadhana or a daily practice, and that could be either some kind of a mantra or meditation, yoga, pranayam, whatever suits you. And in fact, astrology can also be used, your chart can also be used to find out the most potent or important graha or planet in your chart, and according to that planet, some mantra or a daily sadhana routine can be decided, and that can be extremely helpful in learning astrology. In fact, the traditional approach of learning astrology is first of all have a Ishta Devata, have a main deity which or whose sadhana you would do on a daily basis. Now let's come to some of the recommended books, and I wouldn't say recommended books because I'm no one, or I don't feel myself qualified enough to recommend one book or the other, but what I will share with you is the books of the authors which I have gone through or I refer to. But before that, there are various reasons for which people learn astrology. Some people do it just for the intellectual fun of it, and if you dive deep into astrology, you will find that there is probably no other science or subject which can be intellectually as stimulating as astrology. And I know many people who simply read astrology for the mental fun of it. Now, many other people try to learn astrology primarily for understanding human psyche better. And in fact, there are psychologists who do take help of astrology, and especially the moon's placement, to learn about various mental conditions. And then obviously how astrology is perceived, at least in the Indian context, and that is to be able to predict events, predict birth of a child, predict marriage, predict education, predict profession, and so on. So, basically be able to predict events in lives. Now let me begin with some of the classics. Now these books are mostly available freely on internet, and you can obviously download them, and there is no copyright as well. So first of all, Brihad Parashar Horashastra, you must have heard about that. This is like the Bible for Vedic astrology. And then there are many books written by Varamihir, Brihad Jataka, etc. And similarly, there is I think I got the spelling wrong, but Mantreshwara's Fal Deepika, Kalyan Varma's Saravali, and then Laghu Parashari. Now these are some very few classics which I have named, but these classics have much detailed and dense information about astrology. Now the problem with reading from classics is that one, you will obviously get the most authentic knowledge, but the other issue is that these books are written in a very dense way, meaning the one shloka of these books can be interpreted in many different ways, at least 2, 3, 4, 5 ways. And in fact, there is a work of Varamihir, Brihad Jataka. The first 10 chapters of this book has been explained in Kerala book called Dashadhyayi, and if anyone of you have a copy of this, then please do let me know, because I have been searching for this since long. And it is said that this Dashadhyayi basically is the explanation of the 10 chapters written by Varamihir in Brihad Jatak. And anybody who wants to deeply understand what Varamihir wrote, then Dashadhyayi is a must. So this is my request to you. If anybody knows this, then please do let me know. And so the issue is that since they are written in such a dense way, it is very easy for, if you start reading astrology from these books, it is easy for you to either feel it very tedious, or basically it will be like in one shloka they would say something which for people like us needed like a 5-page explanation. So I would say definitely refer to these books, and if you become comfortable with even 1 or 2 chapters of this book, then please do read them in details. But as your journey grows into astrology, as you slowly move forward, then these books will make more and more sense, because then you will be able to relate to this with much more ease. Now, if you're talking about English language books, then these are the astrologers whose book I have actually read. And P.V. Raman and K.N. Rao, these two folks have written so many books. You can obviously find a huge catalog on internet, and depending upon either the specific subject matter or the basic books, you can definitely choose any books of these two gentlemen, the great gurus of modern times. Especially I would say B.V. Raman's book of How to Judge a Horoscope. You might have heard about it. It's volume 1, volume 2, two humongous books. And even these books, they are written with so much density. The yogas which are expounded in this book is just, it literally can blow your mind. In fact, I've read somewhere that even K.N. Rao said that How to Judge the Horoscope Part 1 and Part 2 are like reference books. And they are, in terms of density, in terms of complexity of yogas, that, How to Judge a Horoscope can also be very difficult for, newcomer to just start with. But that book with practical explanation, practical horoscopes, has, details of all 12 houses, case studies after case studies for all of these, yogas after yogas for all of these, really just an amazing work of art. And similarly, there are other books of B.V. Raman and K.N. Rao, so many of them. As I said, you can just find the whole catalog. And then C.J. Krishnamurti and Sheshadri Iyer, I've read few books of these great gentlemen's, amazing gurus, and I can definitely say any book written by them you simply pick up and you will find authentic astrology knowledge. Now, another thing which I have found from my personal experience, that books written in non-English languages, especially in India when we have so many different regional languages, and I have read books written in obviously Hindi, in Marathi, and in Gujarati, and I can really tell you some of the knowledge which you can find in these vernacular books or books written in the vernacular languages is just out of the world. And I've actually, in terms of practical knowledge which these guys have poured in these vernacular languages books is just immense. And a few names which comes to my mind immediately, in terms of Hindi, there is a book called Jatak Tattvam by Mr. Sri Harishankar Pathak. Then there are few books written by Sri Prithvi Dharacharya, which in these two are, in Hindi, V.D. Bhatt and M.D. Bhatt. There is a series of about 8 to 10 books written by these two brothers. Amazing practical knowledge. If you know Marathi, these are, just any book out of those 8 to 10 book series, just wonderful. Then there are many great books in Gujarati, but some names which are coming into my mind are Naveen Bhai Zaveri and Raghuveer Vyas. Great books, just absolutely fantastic in terms of the length and breadth of knowledge. So friends, this was some of the methods, and only few of the writers whose books have really proved to be helpful to me, which I've shared with you. And as I said, this is a ocean. You should and you can begin from anywhere. And more you learn, read and think about it, the more better you are going to get. And obviously with internet right now, there are so many other resources from which you can, start learning this great gift called astrology. So friends, this was my quick summary of tips and tricks to learn astrology. I hope this will be helpful and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.